Today, we celebrate what we know as the church as Christ the King Sunday. The Sunday before Advent of every year is Christ the King Sunday. It's a Sunday set aside to remind us whose we are. It's to remind us of who Jesus really is. A king. And not just a king, but the king of all of us. And after 4 weeks of Advent, we are going to celebrate Christmas Day and Christmas Eve together as we celebrate the birth of Jesus. And that's what Advent means, is coming. Something's going to be happening, and we're anticipating, and we're looking forward to it. Now, we here in the United States don't really have a lot to do with kings. We don't have a king. When we left England a long time ago, we said we don't want a king, and so we don't have a king. We have elected officials who govern over us. Now, I don't know the last time you thought about kings, but you probably watch movies or read books about kings. I don't know, maybe that's what you do. So, is there a favorite king that you have? That you go, oh, I like that king, fictional or not. Is there a king that you happen to like? Maybe I don't hear anything. So. Huh? Elvis? She said Elvis. Okay, anyway, yeah.
I heard Lion King behind me.
Lion King, maybe. That's a good one. Lion King's good. Lion King's good. A lot of times, I will look to King Arthur. I think King Arthur was a really great role model for what a king should be. Because all too often, a king is selfish, and they want only what's good for them and their family, and they want power, and they want more power, right? King Arthur of the Arthurian legends wasn't like that. He wanted what was best for his kingdom. He wanted what was best for his people that he served. He wasn't better than them. He was there to protect them and help them. And that's really, in my definition, what a king should be, right? And I know you're waiting to find out what really my favorite king is. So we're going to find out right now. Beat me to it. He beat me to it. It is the Lion King. Mufasa is his name, right? Mufasa. You know, I'll put this fictional king up to any real king any day of the week, though. You know why? Because of what he did and what he stood for, right? He tells Simba, his son, all of this is going to be yours, right? But then he goes, but you must treat the other animals, and you must treat the land with respect, right? Never take more than you need. Never just kill stuff just for the sake of doing that. And if there's a problem, you need to go solve it for the benefit of everybody. You're going to have power as a king, and the little Simba's like, yeah, I can do anything when I'm king. And his dad's trying to tell him, no, that's not what it's about. It's not about you. It's not about your power. It's about what are you going to do to help those in your kingdom. See, in my definition, that's what a king really is, and that's what a king really does. Leads and helps all of those that they're to govern over. Unfortunately, in our world, we don't have a whole lot of good kings. Because with kingship comes power and wealth. You can look at the history of kings, and those kings did a lot of horrible stuff. They really did, because they wanted more and more and more power. And that's all it was about. It wasn't about the people. It wasn't about me and you. It's about how can I get more power to do what I want to do. But is that really what a king is? Is that what a king should be? If you had a king, what would you like that king to be like? I mean, I know we don't have any kings in this country. And I'm going to ask a really dangerous question here. But the answer is no ahead of time, just so you know this. Do you know anybody who could be a faultless king? over us or anybody in the world? A faultless king? See, I don't think a person can do that job. Anybody, anywhere. Because we all fall into that trap of power. You know, King Arthur, fictional character. Mufasa, fictional character. That's why they can do no wrong, right? They're great kings. Because they're not real people. Because we succumb to a lot of stuff. So if you had to have one person as your king, who might that be? Well, interestingly enough, the gospel tells us exactly who that is. And it's another interesting thing that when we get into Christ the King Sunday, we read the gospel talking about the crucifixion of Jesus. Isn't this Easter stuff? Isn't this supposed to be talking about the birth of Jesus coming up during Advent and Christmas? Why do we go here? Well, you know, Jesus is on that cross. And the crowds there, and the people there are mocking him, right? And they're calling him, hey, King of the Jews, King of the Jews. They're making fun of him. But see, little do they know that they're making his title official. That he is the King of the Jews. Above his cross, they put King of the Jews. They wrote it out in multiple languages for all the world to see that this is the King of the Jews. And by default, King of all of us as well. If you look at his life, what did he do? He helped people. He healed people. He had immense power, did he not? Yes, he did. What did he use it for? For good. For the people. For me and for you. That's what he used that power for. That's when I say there's nobody you can mention to me in this world who can be a king anywhere close to the king we have in Jesus Christ. Because he's the only one that I know of who every time will not help himself. He'll help others. He'll guide us. He'll forgive us. He'll help us every single step of the way. Just like Mufasa did. And see, Mufasa was trying to get Simba to understand this because Simba one day was going to be the king. You know the beginning of the movie? The music is going on. Rafiki, the orangutan, whatever, got little Simba on a cliff. I don't recommend this. Hanging over a cliff. You know, you can get in trouble doing that, right? And all the animals come. And some of those animals are prey to the lions, by the way. They are coming and they are respecting Mufasa and the new king. Because of what this king has been doing. And they're hoping that the new king to come is going to be just like that. But we don't have a new king coming. We've just got one. Because we don't need a new one. Because our king is alive. They tried to kill him on that cross, and he died. But 3 days later, guess what? Our king rose from the dead. And our king walked around this planet for 40 days after. And then he was brought in the bodily form up into heaven where he sits at the right hand of God. Our king, your king is alive. Have you thought about that lately? You have a king. You know, we always think about kings being over in Britain, right? Or in Europe, all those places. They have kings and stuff, right? We have a king that's greater than any other king that has ever walked the face of this planet. And this king does everything in his power for you, and you, and you, and you. All of us. Everything our king does is for our benefit. Can you tell me another king who does that? Because I can't think of a one. I can't think of a leader on this planet who does that. But we have that king who's there to help us and lead us and guide us through whatever we've got going on. But you know what? Even with that amazing news and that amazing knowledge, some people still claim to not want to follow this king. Let's just slide on this one. Let's go one more. Back to this Easter story. Jesus is brought before Pilate and several other people. And they're like, are you king of the Jews? And Jesus won't even say it here. He's just like, who do you say I am? Who do you say I am? I think that's a really valid question as we gather here today at Christ the King Sunday. Who do you think Jesus is? Just a normal guy? something more? Is he really our king? I believe he is. I will follow people. I will. I'll follow people on different projects and at work. I'll follow people. But there's only one I'm going to follow unquestionably whenever I'm asked, and that's the King Jesus that I worship. King Jesus can ask me to do anything, and guess what? I'm going to go do it. Because I trust in that. If some person asks me to go do something, I'm like, are you kidding me? I ain't going to do that. But if my king asks me that, I'm in 100% every single time. Because I know that's what my king wants me to do, and my king's going to sustain me and support me through that whole process. So this is the kind of king you have. You have a king that only cares for you. A king that loves you more than you can imagine. What more could you want out of any kind of a leader? I said, unfortunately, King Arthur is not around. Mufasa is not here in the room to help us out either. We have limited options, right? No, we don't. We got the best king out of all of them. We have Jesus. And as we gather on this Christ the King Sunday, that's something that I want you to take home with you today. That, yeah, we live in America where we have elected officials, but guess what? You have a king that reigns over you. You have a king that you can go to with anything you need or want, and that king is always going to be there to help you and support you more than any other king on this planet ever could do. I want you to remember that when you go home today. Look in the mirror and say, you know who this is? This is the child of the one true king looking back at me in the mirror. And that king loves you more than you're ever going to know. You are a sacred worth. You are a sacred value. Because that's how a king should be. So you have a king. His name is Jesus Christ. Don't forget that today. And don't forget that tomorrow. I think for right now, that's a pretty good place to start. Would you pray with me, please? Most gracious and glorious God, Lord, thank you for sending us this king to watch over us, to lead us, and to guide us. Thank you for all that you do. In your name we humbly pray.